Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to my channel, and thank you all for tuning in. Tonight, I want to talk about the year 1992. And before we get into this, I do want to say a couple of things real quick. One, yes, I did do this video before, but I decided to restart my favorite albums per year series, and not only hit the years that I didn't do the first time, but I also am going to go over the years that I did do. And basically, there's two reasons for that. One, I've added enough albums to my collection over the past year and a half since I did this the last time that I think my order has changed quite a bit. Plus, for the years, especially in the 1990s, I kind of feel like when I did 5 before, that just wasn't enough. I wanted to expand that to 10. So, not only is the order going to be different for some of these years, but I did want to expand them to at least 10. So, that out of the way, let's go back to 1992. I was a whopping 2 years old, and life was good. I wasn't really listening to a lot of hard rock music back then, but 32 years later, here we are, and I want to talk about some of the timeless albums that were released in that year, 1992. So, for 1979, the first video I did in the series, which that's another thing I wanted to add, I will actually not be doing these in order. I kind of wanted to allow myself the ability to let the inspiration to do this come naturally, so that if I get into a kick doing 1979, now 1992, I can kind of ride that and kind of, in my opinion, put out a better video and be a little bit more satisfied with my list, as opposed to kind of forcing myself to do it, year by year. That's just the crazy way that my brain works. So I am going to do this a little bit out of sequence, but I kind of think that the end product will wind up being a little bit better. So I didn't think to do this for 1979, but I got a couple honorable mentions. First of all, I'm just going to mention these real quick in passing. I have Soul Asylum's Grave Dancers Union. Some pretty big hits on here, like Runaway Train, Somebody to Shove, Black Gold, all great songs. Keep It Up's really good. Get On Out, The Sun Made's pretty good too. I think half this album is like really awesome. There's songs on here that I never did quite get into, which is why it doesn't quite make my top 10. But still some good stuff from Soul Asylum there. Def Leppard's Adrenalize. And on one hand, this album feels like a bunch of Hysteria leftovers, but on the other hand, it's not as played out as Hysteria, so you still got some really good songs on here. Personally, I love Heaven Is and White Lightning, two great songs that are not overplayed like the vast majority of Hysteria, so it does feel a little bit fresher listening to this one as opposed to its predecessor. And last but not least, we have Revenge from Kiss. Despite this being one of my lesser favorite Kiss albums, I still like it a lot. I appreciate the harder sound and style that the band goes with here. Songs like Unholy and Paralyzed are freaking amazing, but still not quite going to make my top 10. So with that out of the way, let's get into my top 10, starting with number 10. In the number 10 spot, following the demise of Twisted Sister in the late 1980s and the failure of his Desperado project to get out of the gates, Dee Snider returns in 1992 with a brand new band called Widowmaker, and their debut album, Blood and Bullets, is going to come in at number 10. This album, I think, had the potential to be really amazing. It's great as it is. I think the peaks of this album are absolutely fantastic and feature Dee Snider at his best. I love songs like Am I Evil, The Widowmaker, The Lonely Ones, the absolute banging title track, Blood and Bullets. Gone Bad's really good. I love the album closer, We Are the Dead. But unfortunately, there's a few misfires on here for me that hold this one back a little bit. I never cared a lot for Blue for You. I'm not really big fan of Calling for You. I find that You're a Heartbreaker is a bit fillerish for me as well. So just a few misfires on here that keep this one down, but still, the highlights of this album are more than enough to put this in the number 10 spot, Blood and Bullets from Widowmaker. Number 9, let's go with the debut album from Cracker. Some really good stuff on here. This, to me, has always sounded like one of the most 1992 albums possible. It just in my mind, I don't know, sounds like 1992. I just imagine the entire year of 1992 kind of sounded like this album for some reason. But some really cool stuff. Teenage Angst is really good. I love This Is Cracker Soul. That's my favorite song on the album. It's my favorite Cracker song, actually. But this is actually a really solid album from start to finish. There's not really much on here I dislike. So coming in the number 9 spot is going to be the debut album from Cracker. Number 8, we're going to go with Vulgar Display of Power from Pantera. This album manages to top Cowboys from Hell in terms of heaviness, and in my opinion, it tops Cowboys from Hell in awesomeness too. As great as Cowboys from Hell was, Vulgar Display of Power really kicks things up a notch with awesome songs like Mouth for War, A New Level, Walk, Effin' Hostile. Regular People is one of my favorite deeper cuts on here. Rise is really good. Hollow, the closing track, is awesome as well. So I think from top to bottom, you got a really, really good, really solid Pantera album. Great riffs from Dimebag Darrell all over the place. Awesome aggressive vocals from Phil Anselmo, as always. So I always think of this as their sophomore album because I personally never got that into the glam Terra era. But I guess this is like, what, their 5th album or something like that. But coming in at number 8 is going to be Vulgar Display of Power from Pantera. Number 7, let's go with the debut album from Stone Temple Pilots, Core. This is the one that was accused of being kind of Pearl Jam ripoff-ish, and though I don't necessarily agree with that, I do think this is the grungiest or the closest to a Pearl Jam or a Nirvana or that type of a thing that Stone Temple Pilots would become, as in the future they would sort of settle into their own sound and style. But this one here has some really killer stuff. I love Dead and Bloated. I love Sex Type Thing. Wicked Garden, Naked Sunday is really good. Creep, Plush, Cracker Man is awesome. Where the River Goes. So I think you got a pretty solid album with the exception of the kind of pointless Wet the Bed track here that doesn't really feel necessary at all. But coming in at number 7, I'm going to go with Stone Temple Pilots, Core. Coming in at number 6, we're going to go with yet another debut album, this time the debut from Jackal. This album, I love the hard rock, southern rock vibe. I think this is just a really fun album from start to finish. Great songs like I Stand Alone, Down on Me, Redneck Punk is a lot of fun. The Lumberjack is really cool with the chainsaw riff and solo in it. Reach for Me, Back Off Brother, Brain Drain, Just Like a Devil. So you got a load of good stuff on here. Not crazy about the Dirty Little Mind or the last song, but still from top to bottom, a really, really fun album. Always struck me as like a southern rock style Guns N' Roses type of a deal, but I think that makes it pretty awesome. So coming in at number 6 is the debut album from Jackal. Number 5, we're going to go with Extreme, 3 Sides to Every Story. Coming off of their awesome second album, sophomore album, Porno Graffiti, in 1990, the band sort of one-ups themselves yet again with another really awesome concept album, the 3 Sides to Every Story. This one has 3 sides, yours, mine, and the truth. Yours is kind of the rocking section of this. You got great tracks like Warhead, Rest in Peace, which has always been my favorite Extreme song. Political Calamity, Color Me Blind is really good. Peacemaker Die is great. Mine is a little more stripped back. Some great songs like 7 Sundays, Tragic Comet, Stop the World, and then The Truth is a little bit more progressive, as you got 3 sort of epic songs that kind of combine to make one really good track. Everything Under the Sun. You got some great playing on here. I think Gary Sharon and the guys sounds great. Nuno sounds great. Extreme, in my opinion, again, they one-up themselves. This is probably my favorite Extreme album, and it's going to come in the number 5 spot for 1992, 3 Sides to Every Story.
Dark clouds falling, the moon was near. Birds fly by AM in a bedroom stare. There is no telling
Coming in at number 4, I'm going to go with the album that I actually had number 1 last time I did this. I still love this album, but unfortunately falling a few spots is going to be New Miserable Experience from Gin Blossoms. Still some great stuff on here. Lost Horizons, Hey Jealousy, Mrs. Rita, Cajun Song, Found Out About You, Allison Road, which is one of my favorite songs of all time, 29. So you got some great stuff on here. Unfortunately, I find that a couple of albums have leapfrogged it for me personally, but still a great album nonetheless. Number 4, New Miserable Experience from Gin Blossoms. Number 3, we're going to go with the return of Bon Jovi and their 1992 release, Keep the Faith, 5th studio album from Bon Jovi. Following a lengthy hiatus after the New Jersey album and tour, Bon Jovi's future was sort of in limbo, with the music scene changing rapidly at the time, and John off getting into acting. He released a solo album in 1990 for the Young Guns 2 soundtrack. Richie Sambora released his first solo album in 1991, and the band's future was kind of in doubt, but the band was able to regroup and find the inspiration to carry on. John took more responsibility upon his shoulders, creating Bon Jovi management, and the band was able to press on into the 1990s with their 5th studio album, Keep the Faith. I love this album from the growth that it shows over those great 80s albums, Slippery When Wet in New Jersey. The band takes a more mature approach on this album, but still has one foot in the past with some party rockers like I'll Sleep When I'm Dead, Blame It on the Love of Rock and Roll, and even maybe a song like Women in Love and I Want You wouldn't feel too out of place on the 80s albums. But you got tracks like I Believe, Keep the Faith, In These Arms, Dry County, Fear, and a little bit of soul, which really shows some growth lyrically from the band. I think the musicianship from each member of this band is on point. John's vocals are at their peak. Richie Sambora's guitar work is at its peak. Tico Torres is great as always. So all across the board, I think you've got Bon Jovi firing on all cylinders. Coming in at number 3, Keep the Faith from Bon Jovi. Coming in at number 2, let's go with Dirt from Alice in Chains, the band's second album, third if you want to count Sap, but the second full-length studio album with some amazing tracks on here like Them Bones, Damn That River, which is my favorite Alice in Chains song, Rain When I Die, which features great vocals from Lane Staley, Sick Man, Rooster, Angry Chair, Wood. Just across the board, you got some great Alice in Chains right here. The band really coming into their own following their great debut Facelift. Dirt, fantastic album. It's going to fall in number 2 for me. And taking over the number 1 spot for 1992, we're going to go with Warren's Dog Eat Dog, the band's 3rd studio album. And it was when I picked this album up a few months ago that I realized how fantastic this album really is. From top to bottom, there is not a weak moment anywhere to be found on this album. I think it's a shame that this one sort of gets forgotten about in the grand scheme of things. Certainly Warrant fans know how great this album is, but attention wasn't being paid to the hair bands in 1992 the way that it was just a few years prior when Warrant put out Cherry Pie. And it's a shame, really, because this album is stacked full of great material. You've got songs like Machine Gun and Bonfire, which wouldn't feel too out of place on Cherry Pie. Maybe a little bit more aggressive or heavier than Cherry Pie, but wouldn't feel too out of place. And then you've got some other great stuff. The Hole in My Wall, April 2031, Andy Warhol Was Right. And then the second half of this album just gets so freaking good with songs like The Bitter Pill, Hollywood, All My Bridges Are Burning, which features great vocals from Jani Lane, Quicksand, which features more great vocals from Jani, Let It Rain, Inside Out, straight up banging track with some really aggressive vocals from Jani, really awesome track, Sad Teresa. Top to bottom, you've got darn near, if not a perfect album, and I definitely had to shoot this one right to the top. Warrant's Dog Eat Dog is going to be my favorite album of 1992. So, in the comments below, let me know your favorite albums from 1992. If you like this kind of content, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channels for more videos like this in the future, and I will catch you next time.